Thanks so much. Really glad to be able to join you all this morning. Thanks for uh, having me. My name is Michael Dankinich. I'm the founder of FestPlug. I'm going into my senior year at the University of Iowa. I'm studying economics at the Tippy College of Business, and I'm a member of the 2020 cohort of the Hawkeye Startup Accelerator. A little bit about me before I go into the pitch. I work very closely with a lot of different music festival vendors. Prior to FestPlug, I started a business that made websites and created digital content for music festival vendors, people like food trucks, retail vendors, production companies. I also work at a food truck myself. It's a 24/7 breakfast food truck in the Midwest that serves primarily electronic dance music shows and festivals. And I do a lot of their POS work, website work, not so much of the cooking, but kind of the back end stuff. I also work as a sound engineer, running some sound stages in the Midwest. So I do a lot of work with vendors. Um, Through this work with vendors, I've discovered that vending is extremely high risk at these music festivals for these vendors. Um, a little bit about that: vendors pay between $1,000 and $3,000 for the right to sell their goods or services at a music festival. That's usually for 2 or 3 days. So the way one vendor put it is she said that she pays what a brick and mortar pays in rent for a month over a weekend. So vendors are really limited on the time they have to recoup their investment for vending. So any understaffing that happens with them is really damaging to their business. Because they're losing sales. At the same time, music festivals are expensive. The tickets are between $100 and $300. A lot of people who want to attend them might have trouble affording that. And at the same time, those jobs at music festivals are very difficult to come by unless you're already an insider in the industry. It's very hard to get your foot in the door. To solve these, created FestPlug. At the moment, it's a website. We're creating a mobile app as well. And the goal is to connect these music festival vendors with the staff they need. And we do that in a way that's up to the minute or up to real time so that these vendors can find staff after the fact when they realize they are understaffed. So vendors can find staff at music festivals in addition to before music festivals. At the same time, there exists kind of an interesting dynamic I found through customer discovery and just through my previous experiences with vendors, in that many music festival vendors, the way it works, they'll pay some money up front, they'll get a spot a lot at the festival where they can set up camp and sell their wares. With that spot comes a certain number of tickets for their employees and for their staff. Customer discovery has let me know that oftentimes these vendors will end up with leftover tickets that kind of just sit and rot because these tickets are vendor specific tickets that are tied to their business. So they don't really sell them or give them away. They only use them for employees. So the idea is to leverage some of that, connect these people who want to go to music festival vendors, might not, or who want to go to music festivals, might not be able to afford it, connect them with these vendors who need employees and have the capacity to pay them and get them to festivals. So here is kind of a demo concept of the FestPlug.com homepage. We've gone through a couple of different iterations as we do more customer discovery, as we talk to more vendors. But the idea at the moment is to keep it kind of like a traditional job board where these vendors will post their positions and interested parties will apply. So our business model initially takes that of a traditional job board, like I mentioned. We want to charge vendors $5 per job listing. These vendors typically attend about 10 to 90 events per year, depending on the vendor. There's a lot of variance, is what I found through customer discovery. We want to give the vendors their first job listing for free so they could try out the platform, hopefully make a hire, and then continue to use us. And down the road, we want to introduce some advertising revenue and also some data sales revenue. And this is kind of just as the user base grows. This isn't something we'll be looking to do until we have a lot of bodies on the platform. Our go-to-market strategy is going to be pretty much me calling back all the vendors I've spoken with during customer discovery, calling all the vendors I already know personally through my other experiences, and just getting them on the platform myself, onboarding them, getting them comfortable with using it. In order to drive some potential employees, we'd like to leverage the vendors' existing social media accounts. A lot of these vendors have 5 to 25 to 100,000 followers on social media. Through customer discovery, I've discovered that a lot of them are kind of looking for content to post during COVID, and our idea is to kind of offer the vendors, some sort of incentive, a free month, a certain amount of credits, just to post on their social media that FestPlug is their go-to hiring platform. If you want to work for said vendor, just sign up at FestPlug, and as opportunities come up, you'll be able to find work there. And we want to leverage these vendors' social medias in order to kind of keep the platform a tight-knit community initially. This kind of vendor-employee dynamic exists offline, and it's kind of really ingrained in this electronic dance community on the vendor side, that a lot of people are already kind of familiar with working for vendors for tickets or doing similar exchanges. So the goal is to keep it very tight-knit initially in that Midwestern electronic dance music community. So some competitive analysis I've done. The biggest direct competitor to FestPlug is a Facebook group, actually, that was started in January of 2020. It's grown to about 1,200 people now. And the Facebook group is called Hire Not Fire, kind of as a nod to the Fire Festival fiasco. And their whole premise is that they're a group for connecting these electronic dance fans with potential employee and potential vendor employers. So they have a Facebook group that kind of solves one aspect of what FestPlug is trying to solve as kind of a full service platform. And there are other different providers that solve kind of bits and pieces of what FestPlug kind of solves in a full service sense. This is just a little bit more about me. I've mentioned I've worked with a lot of vendors, helping them with websites. I work with the food truck. I'm a sound engineer. I also work at the IMU as part of the University of Iowa as an AV technician. So a lot of my experience is really with this technology and with these music festivals. These are some of our projected earnings. This is kind of going off the hypothesis that we can, that we'll capture about 12 paid listings per vendor per year at $5 per listing, getting us to about $60 per vendor. And these projections involve getting 5,000 vendors to sign up in year 1, 10,000 in year 2, 25,000 in year 3, and 60,000 in year 4. And this initial 5,000 vendors in year 1 represents less than 1% of the total market. It's really trying to just get all these niche electronic dance vendors initially, and then move on to other groups. So the key metrics we're going to be focusing on are listed here. Because we're a startup, we're really focused on just getting users on the platform, getting a lot of bodies, and tracking how many of them are actually applying. The current status of FestPlug, as I mentioned, we're a member of the Hawkeye Startup Accelerator cohort for the summer 2020. FestPlug won first place at the Spring 2020 Iowa Innovation Challenge in the lifestyle category. And to date, we've conducted 20 vendor customer discovery interviews. That was 20 last spring and 20 this summer so far. If anyone wants to reach out, please do via either these emails or my phone number. And any questions are always more than welcome. Thank you very much.
All right. Any questions?
So I'm going to ask the obvious question. What's the pandemic doing to your business and, I mean, festivals in general?
Yeah, so this year is going to be more or less a wash. Those projections I mentioned are really going to come into play starting 2021. We do kind of have some work where we're planning to do some beta testing in August. A couple festivals have some regulatory clearance. There's one in Missouri, Dance Festopia, we plan to be at. So this year it's going to be kind of some initial beta testing with the vendors I already know, kind of small testing, and we hope to do a full rollout for next festival season.
Sounds like you've done quite a bit of customer discovery. I think I saw the 40 interviews. Have you received any, letters of intent, or is the general sentiment from those interviews that that FestPlug actually does solve a pertinent need for them?
Yeah, so far we have 3 kind of initial companies who have already agreed to use FestPlug. We're kind of looking for use cases now, given the craziness of the season. One of them is the sound system company I work with. I mentioned a lot of the vendors who have signed up already are ones I work with very closely already. So we're kind of using them as beta testers, because I know for a fact that that they have trouble staffing. So initially it's kind of an in-house solution, but we're branching outward from there.
Hi, interesting stuff for somebody who's not really a music festival goer. Can you explain electronic dance festival versus just a regular music festival, or a regular festival like a farmer's market?
Yeah, certainly. So different genres and kind of categories of festival will draw in radically different crowds. So you're able to kind of identify different personality types, interest types fairly well, depending on what kind of festival they're at. For instance, a lot of the festivals that we kind of specialize in are really some of the smaller indie, left field, bass kind of really, hippie kind of festivals, versus whereas, you might go to a country festival, everyone's wearing cowboy hats. In our space, everyone might have dreadlocks and colored hair or something similar to this.
So then will you be branching out into other festivals, or are you going to stay with just your special, your little...
The goal eventually is to branch out to kind of any events. We want to stay within our space initially, and kind of dominate really our space, make sure the idea works, and from there we'll take it out to different genres. I was kind of thinking of a genre hopping kind of growth, start with the electronic, move to country, move to rock, and grow that way.
Great, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Michael, how many vendors are usually at those festivals that you're working on now?
So there's a really high variance. One of the festivals we did last year, Backwoods Music Festival in Arkansas, that had over 80 vendors present, and each of them paid about $2,500 to be there. So vendors do drive a significant portion of festival revenue in some cases. Other festivals might struggle to actually attract vendors. So there's a really high level of variance, depending on the event itself, depending on the vendor. But I would say between 5 and 200, depending on the event.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about the trucks and the food trucks, and going directly to them, to wherever they're going to be, whether it's a festival or it's a location that they want to do. Is that something that you're thinking about too?
Down the road, certainly, we think food trucks are going to be definitely a big kind of user. We found through customer discovery that food trucks get more tickets than, say, retail vendors. So a food truck at a festival, they might pay $2,500 for a spot and get 7 or 8 tickets, whereas a retail vendor might get 3 or 4. So we do think food trucks are going to be huge for us.
Michael, is the reliability of the workforce a big concern among vendors, and how would your product address that issue? I'm envisioning that I'm traveling into a new market. I haven't been there before, trying to source labor. And what if they don't show up, or they leave in the middle of their shift, and that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the biggest challenges with festival vending. That's part of the reason FestPlug is trying to become a solution. A lot of the understaffing does come from a breakdown in staffing, someone walking away during a shift. So that is something we're still kind of experimenting with and trying to find the best way to address. So I don't have a definite answer. Right now we're leaning towards that. We're doing a lot more kind of resume sharing. We're trying to be more of a business centric kind of hiring a platform versus Facebook, where it might be a little bit more casual, a little bit less kind of professional. But really good question. Thanks for that.
I think you should have a funny way of marking someone as a fabulous employee.
We'll definitely keep that in mind.
Like a premium type person, but in some funny way, so that they can stand out and be incented to be reliable.
I'll have to brainstorm that one. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael, I know that you've talked about kind of two-way ratings like you do with Uber, so that the vendors, kind of building on what Gene just said, so the vendors can rate the employees that they got. Are they reliable? Are they helpful? Are they engaged? And at the same time, the employees can rate the vendor, right? Isn't that something you had talked about?
Yeah, we had discussed that. Full disclosure for everyone, Greg is my startup coach. So we have been kind of talking about a two-way rating system. We're considering different ways of, maybe providing an employee with a ticket, but putting a deposit down on some money or something. So there's a variety of ways. One of the initial things we're doing to mitigate that, those walk-offs, those breakdowns, is really keeping it tight in the community, focusing on being really community-based. And the hypothesis is that because this is an already existing community, a lot of people, know each other. People are going to kind of have that incentive to behave well and not kind of damage, their own reputations within their community.
Michael, nice job. This is Kim Harris. I'm just curious, what kinds of things, other than maybe obvious ones, concern you about these vendors being willing to sign up for your service or be part of it?
Yeah, it's a great question. Really, COVID's a really big concern right now. A lot of the vendors I've spoken with, some of them might be considering closing up shop for next year. A lot of the event coordinators and the big dogs I've talked to who actually run the festivals have mentioned there's going to be a lot of shakeups in the industry next year. Maybe big festivals who were around before might not survive. They might go bankrupt. Smaller festivals, might come up. So there's a lot of uncertainty right now in the industry. So it's kind of tough to push a hiring platform on vendors when they don't have any work. So that's really the number one challenge, and that's kind of why I'm really trying to stick with the vendors I already know, I've already spoken with, and kind of build relationships for the long term, rather than try to sign up a bunch of people all at once. Thanks for the question. Really, really good question.
Any other questions? If not, I'll go ahead and ask my final question. What can we as a community do to help you?
Yeah, thanks for asking that one. If anyone knows anyone who might be interested in vending at festivals, you know, I would love to chat with them. Maybe someone that you know who does some sort of big event work. If you could drop you know, their contact my way, and anything like that helps. I'll link our Facebook page in the comments. Maybe if you guys can give that a like, that would also be very helpful. But yeah, that's it. Really appreciate you guys listening and giving me the opportunity to share this with you.